All right, welcome to today's episode of the Australian Lawn and Garden podcast. We have Sean from Blade Mate. If you guys are not aware, he is the original, the OG Australian free lawn care guy. And the biggest compliment I can pay for you as a podcaster, Sean, is that without a doubt, I think you have the best, most soothing voice in the entire industry.
Oh, man, come on. I appreciate you saying that, Luke. Thanks for having me on the show, mate.
I've been asking you to come on for a while because I've been excited to talk to you, and finally we've made it happen.
Yeah.
We talked on the phone the other day, and I realized there's a lot more layers to your story than just a guy who happens to mow some lawns for free on the internet and has quite a few people watch them. So I'm eager to get into that. But my first question, right out of the blocks, is what inspired you to do these free jobs? Because as the first guy, you know, it makes sense now for someone to do it because there's about 50,000 people who are trying to get into some form of content like that. I even see Jims is doing some of these videos now. But what got you started?
Well, you mentioned there's a few layers, and it is a pretty complex explanation. I guess it started the mental health for myself, struggling. I was the first pre-cleanup job I did, I was still actually in the army. I was about a month away from discharge. I was not in a good place. It was pre-COVID lockdowns, but we were starting to get all the rumblings of that. Man, I was just in a bad way. And I just recently started my business kind of maybe 6 months earlier. And I was just taking a bit of just pleasure and getting a bit of self-worth from mowing people's lawns. I did some just neighbours, their yards, a bit overgrown. Hey, mate, can I come and mow your lawn for you? No, don't need to charge. I won't charge you, nothing like that. And just the people were just very grateful, and that just made me feel great. You know what I mean? Just it gave me a little bit of purpose. You know, if that makes sense. So I kind of felt that I lost that along the way, and self-esteem was pretty low. Self-confidence, self-worth, all those sort of things. The first free cleanup job, I was kept driving past this yard, and it was kind of in line with the treatment I was getting with looking inwards. And as you look inwards, I found this ability that most people have. It's called bloody empathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of starting to really come to terms with that and look past sort of my own issues and really focusing and putting myself in other people's shoes. And you see something, and I think a lot of people I speak to might be guilty of, and myself included, for the longest time. You see something that you don't like or you don't understand, your first response is to go, what? You know what I mean? As opposed to, okay, let's maybe there's something going on there. So maybe there's something in that person's life. And again, saying it now, it's seems like pretty standard stuff that most people should, especially we've just lived through COVID and the world's pretty tough at the moment. But for the longest time, I don't feel like there was that sort of message in the world. Anyway, so the reason I stopped was because I saw this yard and I was thinking, what's going on in that person's life? I'm gonna check in, see how you're going, see if there's anything I can help with. My channel was next to nothing. I wasn't monetized. That was I was making content for fun, to spread a little bit of my work. I'll keep in mind I was still new to the job, so my very early videos and that first free cleanup in particular, oh mate, they were nasty jobs. You watch me learning on the job, and I got roasted pretty hard in the comments for some of my technique and all that. But you know what? That's the person whose door I knocked on and did that work for, they were just happy that someone checked in and did that for them. And the reason I filmed it, there was a bit of a trend for YouTube at the time. It was like, how much money can I make from this? Everything was the complete opposite to what it's been for the last couple of years. That everybody doing the free ones. It was like, you won't believe how
Yep.
much money I earned from this. And I just thought it'd be fun to subvert expectations a little bit. And so it was a 3-part series. And the first one, the first thing I said was, "You're not going to believe how much I charge for this." It was just thought it'd be funny to kind of say that. And then I revealed at the end of the third video, yeah, by the way, I did that for free. Let's just try and put a bit of positive energy into the world, and that was kind of the whole point of this video, and etc. And that obviously there was a very positive response to that series. Um, it wasn't quite overnight that there was a sudden inundation of it. It wasn't until I actually went and did a follow up at that property that things started happening for my channel, and one of my videos very quickly hit 1 million views, which I wasn't prepared for. And the next thing I know, I'm like, wow, a lot of people making these types of videos, and it was quite overwhelming actually. For better and worse.
Yeah.
Wasn't suddenly, I guess I'm not going to suggest I'm complaining about the opportunity to kind of do that kind of work with YouTube and the channel taking off, but I wasn't quite expecting a little bit of the impact it would have on me, both positive and negative, and there were negatives. That's a choice you make when you throw your life, when you film yourself, put it on the internet. Yeah, but sorry, mate, I'm waffling a bit, but
That's what
um,
podcasts are for. Waffling.
yeah. Well, long story short, Luke, I was just it felt good to do it. It felt good to help someone. It felt good um, that people wanted to do it because they saw me do it. All these things felt good, and that tied into my lack of self worth I was feeling at the time, and it was incredibly therapeutic for me. Gave me a sense of purpose. Shortly after, when the channel became monetized, and I learnt and that I could spend a couple of days a week, 1 or 2 days a week, making these videos, helping some people out, and covering my overheads, and the time I'd take away from doing paid jobs, YouTube would cover by doing those cleanups. So it's kind of able to tick a lot of boxes there. I could do some work that I wanted, uh, which was good for me. It was good for the people in my community, and it was sustainable because YouTube was paying the bills. And that's more or less just the story of it in a nutshell. And yeah, here we are now.
So it sounds like you're in a tough place at the time. Do you feel like being in a tough place is what it sounds like what you're saying is that tough place opened up the empathy that you had? If that's right, like you being in a downward place yourself started to make you see or helped you see people in a different light, and that made you go, I want to help these people. Is that
Yeah,
kind of where I'm getting at?
yeah, pretty much, mate. I was looking back, or I do reflect, especially a couple of years ago, and the journey I've had in the last sort of, what are we now? I think it's what year are we in? 2024. 3 years I've been out of the army now,
Yeah,
and I'm not the same person I was back then, not by a long shot. And a big part of that
yeah,
has been the work that I've done. I didn't, and like I said, reflecting back, I didn't realize how vulnerable I was at the time. I struggled, especially with the internet trolls. Again,
yeah,
I choose to put myself on the internet. That's part of it, but I still struggled because I didn't really expect it. Because I didn't expect my channel to blow up.
yeah.
But that's part and parcel of it, mate. And yeah, it's been part of the journey. And yeah, I guess that's it.
So it almost sounds like, in a certain way, you're getting paid twice because you started off doing these things for the enjoyment of the job and being able to help somebody, and that was your payment. And then all of a sudden, YouTube gets monetized, people actually follow it, and then you're like, oh, also, there's something financial here which you need to be sustainable because you can't take 2 days a week off or 1 day a week off work, when you got to put food on the table for your family. But in a certain way, you might feel like one of the luckiest guys going around to get that kind of opportunity, right?
You're dead right, mate. I used to have a bit of a templated intro that I had just to tack it on the front of the video, and I said exactly that. I said I have the best job in the world. You know, I can do this. Um, yeah, more or less exactly what you said. I kind of paraphrase it differently. But yeah, I've tried to kind of steer away in maybe the last 18 months from really leaning on the whole, hey, it's free because um, I love doing the work, but I've noticed a bit of a culture and a bit of a trend developed across YouTube. Just I don't know, mate. Everyone's entitled to kind of it's a lot of good work's getting done by a lot of people. I just kind of I guess wanted to distance myself from a suggestion that hey, look, I'm doing a free cleanup. You know, pat me on the back because there's
Right.
a lot of that sort of that people question your motivation. Um, and again, that presented me with another challenge because I knew that was not the case, and it actually really ate me up inside that suggestion. So now when I make the videos, I I'll mention, hey, thanks for watching. This is funded by YouTube and donations from viewers. You know, we have Patreon and that. Um, but I don't put in the titles anymore. Hey, free cleanup, anything like that. In fact, I went and edited a bunch of titles to remove that. Just I, I don't know. I wasn't really comfortable with it after a while.
Do you feel like
For that reason.
it's been abused a little bit? It's gone from altruistic or trying to be genuinely generous to trying to like hack the Instagram trends or whatever the next thing is that people are using to get views.
To be frank, I would suggest that, well, not really being frank in this case, but I would argue there's probably some out there that are like that. It's not saying it's a majority, not saying a minority. I'm just saying that yes, I believe that people out there doing it, and you know what, it is what it is.
Yep.
People are entitled to live, earn, and take all that away, and it doesn't matter. Um, it it brings me a lot of joy that people actually still get out there because they're still doing the work, whatever their motivation is. They're
True.
still doing the work, and they're still somebody that needs a hand is getting a hand. You know, if they're doing it
Yep.
because they want the internet clout, good for them. But it's all the thing that I like the most about it is that people are getting help, people are getting assistance. Yeah, it's just like I said, for the reasons I kind of described. Just I don't know, I guess distance myself from that sort of culture that developed around it. Um, yeah, and and I've tried to be transparent the whole time, like the whole time. And I said, yeah, I earn money from these videos. Don't pat me on the back. I love the work I'm doing, but uh, the suggestion that I'm doing it for free is it's not true because I do get paid for this work. I just don't charge a client, and that's the benefit there. You know, if I and so people, the next question: would you do it if you weren't being paid? Well, I wasn't being paid for the first couple I did, and I wasn't expecting to.
Mm.
Um, I just wouldn't have the capacity to do it with the regularity that I've been able to, and
Yes.
that's the beauty of YouTube, and that's the freedom that it's given me to kind of pursue that. Yeah, so
Well, we talked about this briefly on the phone, but I'm a strong proponent of people trying to make money online. Your motivation is really what you're getting at here. Like the manipulative, or twisting the truth to get money or whatever it is. That's not cool. But like the way I see it, people don't understand how much work really goes into this sort of stuff, and there's not many people, if any, in the lawn and garden industry who I'm not aware of a single person in the lawn and garden industry on YouTube, and I've talked to a lot who are making a full time wage off YouTube. Yet there are some people working pretty much full time hours on their stuff, right? So even though people make money, it's not crazy good money. It's not like some of the some channels out there with 10, 20 million subscribers and every video's 1.5 million. They do two a week, and okay, yeah, those people might be rolling in it. But yeah, anyway, I'm starting to waffle now a little bit. But The thing is, though, that most people understand that there's some people who will throw shade at somebody and be like, "Oh, you're rolling in it, this and that, whatever," and they just get their bee in the bonnet for the wrong reasons and have no idea that, of your first story that you're talking about, that you did it for free with no intention or even thought of the possibility of getting paid, that they'll chuck you in the same bucket as somebody else that they've seen, or just make a bunch of assumptions. And like you said, early days, that really affected you, those internet trolls.
And it is what it is, mate. Like I said, I chose to put myself out there and do the work this way, and yeah, so and I don't mind. Well, I used to mind, like I said. I've obviously a bit of personal growth, and I just try and stay true to my mission now. We do try and give back. So one of the things, and obviously one of the very first reasons, trying to give back and be helpful in the community. Every now and then, if I'll do a fundraiser, which I love doing, because it's about sharing success. If I do a cleanup, and like last year, I pledged at the start of the year, if one of my videos gets 1 million views, I'll donate $5,000 to this organisation that I've been donating to, called Jenny's Place. It's just it's a domestic violence like shelter type thing. And mate, that first video that I announced that on, it got 1 million views, and
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. It was brilliant. And so donated the $5,000, and it was great. I've tried to do it again with another video, because my dad's got cancer at the moment, and I put another video together. I said, this one gets 1 million views. I'm donating $5,000 to the Peter Mac Centre, Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre. They're a world leading cancer research institute down in Melbourne. They're brilliant stuff. Aussie leading the way.
Yeah.
In fact, the collab that I did with Tim the Lawnmower Man, very early on in both our careers, it was to raise money for the Peter Mac Centre. And I pledged to donate every dollar earned from that video to the Peter Mac Centre. I was a bit more consistent doing the monthly donations, sort of the first 18 months. Afterwards, every now and then I log in and go, oh yeah, good, it's made $20 in the last 3 months. I'll go ahead and donate that. But I still do keep track on that one in case anyone's aware of that video and that collab I did with Tim, and that was pretty
Oh my
cool.
goodness, Sean hasn't donated $3 out of the last. That's it. Unsubscribed.
Just delete me. Just to delete me. No, anyway, I probably should double check that one and get in there. It's throw that money out. That's the pledge. That's a plan. I like to stick to that. But my point is, it's I found that with the theme, it's I'm trying to promote one of giving back where you can. And in fact, that first cleanup video I did, a freebie, at the end of it, I said, do what you can if you have the time and the means. Not everyone
Yep.
has the time and the means. And
Mm-hmm.
to kind of close the loop on whatever motivates people to do them, again, I don't care,
Yeah.
because they're still doing a good thing.
Yeah, I see what
And
you mean.
they're enabling themselves to give themselves the means. And YouTube is giving me the means to do this work. And I guess that's the key takeaway, and it's as simple as that.
Do you know, for the last few months, I've been working on a course to help people start and run a successful lawn mowing or gardening business. I've had a lot of questions over the years from people asking for coaching or asking for some sort of advice, and I'll help out as much as I possibly can. But at the end of the day, there's a limit to how much you can write in a comment, and I don't really have the time or skill set to do coaching. And so we've made this course from scratch. It's 47 lessons, over 6 hours of content. It is not a short little course that you can get done in a weekend. And also the price reflects that. But if you are somebody who is wanting to get into the industry from a different industry, or you're somebody who is really great at gardening, but maybe you need some help on the business side, I think the value for money is off the charts. I honestly think that if I had had this course myself when I was first starting out, or even the first few years of business, it would have saved me years and years and years of heartache and mistakes and pain, because a lot of us were making the same mistakes that I was making all those years ago. And it can be avoided. If you are somebody who that sounds interesting to you, check out the link. Oh, I should also say there is an exclusive group as well. It's not just a course. There's a group. You have conversations, ask questions, all that sort of stuff. I want it to be as helpful as possible. I want people to succeed in business because I think small businesses are awesome, and I think the gardening and lawn care industry is even better. So if that sounds like it's of interest to you, there's a link in the description. Check it out, and I'll see you there if it is the right thing for you. Anyways, let's get back into the podcast. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of things at the same time. You're trying to be generous. You're genuinely being generous. You can get accused of being a phony or whatever, and then you can also get motivating, or you can be a motivator for other people. And then you have the silent majority who don't even comment or anything, and they probably just sitting there enjoying their life. But yeah, you bring up a good point, because yeah, you would have some people who would be like, oh, this guy's blah, blah. But how many people have you also inspired at the same time, whether they did a video or not, to do a random act of kindness somewhere or this and that? And
It's transcendent, mate. It's there's a lot of, and this is another thing that I think is really cool. I've seen it across so many industries now. Various, content creators around the world, like cleaning and car detailing and pressure washing and just a multitude of things. People just jumped on this bandwagon, and I'll tell you right now, that's I think that's really cool. It's just a really
yes,
cool thing, and I would never suggest that I was the first sort of person that I started that. I'm not saying I was inspired by other people to do that. I think just the trend of it kind of started as a result of that video that I
yeah,
mentioned that it raced to 1 million views. There was a couple other guys I watched on YouTube, in particular Brad Copper Creek Cuts, real cool dude. I think he's down in Florida, over in the
yep,
States. He was transparent about it. He's like, "Look, I'm doing this for nothing, so I'm getting paid by YouTube." And I was like,
yeah,
"I love that, mate." There was another bloke, Dan's vlog. He was doing free cuts, telling his people, telling his clients, "Don't pay me, pay the local children's hospital," or something along those lines. And
yep.
and that planted a seed with me as well to kind of head in that direction when I was doing that kind of work, especially when it did become monetized. Yeah, and sometimes it's tough. Obviously we've spoken a lot about the sort of the monetary side of it and being financially viable, because I think I'm happy to talk about that, because I think most people are very curious about that sort of stuff. And because it's a question that gets asked the most, is it financially
Yeah.
viable? I know a lot of people have tried it and been unsuccessful to kind of launch their YouTube. It doesn't mean they don't have great content. Just for whatever reason, the algorithm never grabs you. I don't think any of the work I do is any better
Yeah.
or worse than anyone else. I just got lucky one day when the algo grabbed a video and spat it out to everyone and gave me that opportunity. It is tough. People grind and do some hard work. And I know so many guys uh, doing good work, doing those videos, and might probably not getting the views that they deserve. It's pretty tough for them as well. I'm just I'm grateful that my channel gets a little bit of following and able to work, and yeah, and so I guess the point I'm making is people say, oh, it's just easy money. You just do the work and you get paid by YouTube. And like, again, mate, if it's that easy, everyone would be doing it. Everyone would be succeeding. It's a lot of things go into it. Hard work and luck is a big factor.
When you're talking about that, I'm going to. I don't want you to get too jealous, Sean. Okay, but I got monetized on YouTube about a month and a half ago. Okay,
Good.
6 weeks, and don't get jealous. Okay, but I've earned in those 6 weeks from YouTube $65.77. I hope
Mate,
this shock didn't make people drive off, the road or something like that when they just heard the sheer amount of bawling that's going on over here in WA with my YouTube channel. But I don't get crazy views or anything like that. But anyway, it's a
content's
funny
brilliant.
joke. What was that?
You should. Your content's brilliant.
Well, thanks. I mean, most of my listeners are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts because that's where people listen to it, and they don't pay you a bloody cent. Useless. But I just put that out there because it's like you have to hit a lot of views, which you do. I'm looking at your stats right now. Do you know how many views you've had in total? Because I've got it in front of me now. Like, have you seen that?
I don't really
Total
track it.
views. I didn't think you would, but total views is 45,773,000.
Wow.
That's a lot. That's like a lot. I mean, your most popular video has got 2 million, so that shows a real consistency. I'm looking at all these stats on your page right now. It's off screen for people, but you've got 2.2, 1.8, 1.7, 1.5. There's quite a few gone over 1 million there. But yeah, you got very consistent, But anyway, what I'm getting at is yeah, it's not like I don't know how many. I've got a few thousand views in that period of time, but it's you got to get a lot of views to make some money off it, some
I got
real money.
well, mate. These $65. Don't spend it all at once.
Well, as you know, YouTube won't even send it to me because I think it's what $100 is the minimum
$100. Yeah.
I technically haven't received a single cent from YouTube. But
Oh man,
bloody wankers.
keep grinding, mate. You'll be right. Keep grinding.
Eventually, I'll get there. I'll
But
probably be in.
sometimes
Yeah,
videos earn more than others. Like I've done some outrageous cleanups, and not even come close um, to breaking even
yeah,
financially. But I don't really care for various reasons. I have Patreon, and again transparency with my audience. I'm like, hey, this helps in my overhead tip fees. Um, excuse me. Every now and then I get a subby to come give me a hand. Obviously, they're not working for free. I'm paying them. Various overheads. The sort of 6 to 8 hours I might spend on a Saturday putting a video together. It's unpaid work, and so there's just various sort of things in the background that you're not paid for, and that's part of it. That's part of being a YouTuber, and that's fine, and that's okay. And if a video doesn't cover the expenses, I don't care because I'm happy to walk away from that. And I love chatting to the clients, and they're always thrilled. And I'm proud of the work I did, and I like seeing it. And again, I get a little bit of assistance with the overheads from the generous patrons and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's just how I operate.
I had an idea. When you talk about subbies, it reminded me. I told Tim my idea, and he thought it was stupid. All right, okay. So I'll tell you the idea publicly, and if it's stupid, you can tell me as well. But I was like, I wonder. You know how these things take forever, right? Like doing a lawn cleanup. It's a really big job. Takes a lot of time. What if you went to somebody like a brand and were like, can we get like 100 whippersnippers, right? And just get 100 of your followers on one property at one time. Obviously, have to be pretty big property. Just see how quickly can 100 people do a free cleanup for somebody. And Tim was like, someone's going to die from something flicking out of a whippersnipper. It's like, yeah, but come on, man, that'll get you more views.
Well, it's funny you say that, man, because the job that I did with Tim, there was only three of us. My old offsider, he moved on a couple of years ago because he was living down on the coast. Me, him, and Tim did that cleanup together, and it was three whippersnippers side by side. It was actually pretty fun and pretty cool. But I'm just trying to imagine 100. I'll tell you what, though, if there's anyone that can pull it off, it's Tim. That guy is he's
Well,
crushing
he
it.
shot
I'd
me
love to see
down, so he's not. He shot me on idea down, so he's not doing it anytime soon.
that.
But
Right.
because he's coming here for the live event that we're doing in Perth, and we anyway we haven't announced this, but we're going to do a Free-Mo Friday. I don't even know if I'm doing it. He's going to do a Free-Mo Friday for somebody at very least over
Imagine having
here.
Tim the lawnmower man knocking your door. Wouldn't you be thrilled?
Yeah, unless you have no idea who he is, and you get some of that. I mean, you get that all the time, don't you? Like the really weird, like, what are you doing at my house? You know what I mean? But anyways, talking
No,
about that as well. Again, I don't want to brag, but I've also done a free mo for somebody with our business. It wasn't actually personally me. I sent one of my employees to a house, and they did a free mo, and I paid for it. At least that's how I'm labeling it. Because the truth is that I wrote the wrong address on their job card, and it was completely accidental. But yeah, we did number 47 instead of number 27,
oh mate,
and we
look, I
still
think
have that client. And every time I drive past, I have to drive past 47 to get to it. It's like we gave that person a free cut randomly because
look,
of my
mate. There's
admin
there's
error.
two types of contractors. All right, lawn
Yep.
contractors. There's ones that have gone to a wrong address at some point, and then there's liars.
I thought you were going to say there's mulchers and then professionals. That's what I thought you were going to give
Hey
us.
mate, I'm not opening that can of worms, mate. I'm a member of Lawnmower Contractors Australia Facebook page, and that's a running meme that I have no intention of jumping in on or
Oh,
publicly
damn.
having an opinion on that one. But I do catch, if anyone's wondering.
Well, we've seen. No, mulching has its place. Fine, people. I'm just being funny.
It's funny.
Avoid.
It is funny because some clients are funny about it too. I've recently picked up a client. She sacked the last guy who was doing because he mulched. Um,
Yep.
and when I went around and did the quote, obviously she just wasn't you could sort of see the grass underneath just a little bit. She obviously just wasn't
Mm,
happy with that, and that's her
yeah.
prerogative, and that's fine. But I thought the yards looked great. I wasn't going to say that to her, but well, yeah, no,
Right.
I'll definitely come and do this for you. Yeah, we'll catch for sure. Didn't condemn the other guy, of course not. I thought his work was absolutely brilliant, and he was doing the neighbour as well. And I thought that yard looked great, but some clients are just a little bit funny about it. Some don't care, some don't know. So,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Well, sometimes as well, it's not the look; it's like the walking over it after, and a bit gets caught in your shoe, or maybe they've got a dog and that walks it over somewhere, or a windy area, and it's yeah. But as we're talking about that, you can see behind me the walker that is currently broken down.
Oh, yeah.
But that's it's. Where am I moving my head? There, it's I was a bit silly. It's not broken down. It's got the battery lost some cells, so I've been jump starting it for the last like 6 cuts because it just doesn't have enough ampage to actually start, and then it runs fine. But anyways, the expense you go to leave a catch finish. But anyway, I took the battery to the local mower shop and they tested it, and then it was away. I couldn't pick up another battery. Uh, anyways, and then I'm recording this podcast. I'm like, whoopsies! I've left a. It's bad luck for Walker. They're not a sponsor or anything, so I don't care. But looks like they've got a malfunctioning, broken down thing for the whole podcast. Anyways, that's a whole waffling thing. But yeah, back to
Hey, Walker, sponsor Luke.
yeah. I don't know what I want to do with that because we can talk about this long because one of the things I feel, and I actually have had plenty of chats with brands about sponsorship and stuff like that on the podcast, but I don't like. I'm okay with, say, if a brand was to come to me, and I want to get your thoughts on this in a minute. But if a brand was to come to me and was like, "Hey, we're doing a sale. We would like to promote that on the podcast." Oh yeah, sure. Like I'd be happy to do that. But if brand came to me and said, "We want to sponsor your podcast, and you must say that this is the best thing the world's ever seen since sliced bread," I'd be like, "Ooh, I don't know about that," because promoting a sale is just like, hey, if you already wanted to buy this brand because that's what you're looking at, great opportunity. You can save 20%. Sweet. But if someone's like, you must say something you don't really believe, right, but then they're paying you and it gets awkward and all that sort of stuff. And
Mm.
I mean, how do you feel about sponsors?
So I don't have any. Mainly for the reasons you described. Look, don't get me wrong. If Steel or Husky or bloody, Toro or someone go, hey Sean, we're gonna drop this big expensive mower in your lap, um, or we're gonna fully kit you out. Well, you watch me talk up their equipment, but that's
Next minute.
that's that's never going to happen because for a couple of reasons. There's a lot of strings attached. If you kind of become a brand ambassador, at least that's my understanding. Um, on I guess integrity, um, well, and integrity. I'm not talking about the brands that want to sponsor you, like my own brand, Blade Mate Lawn Care, and the videos the content I produce and what my audience has come to expect. I don't bombard them with brand or sales or advertising. It's just this is my work, this is my mission. I'm here to clean up this yard for this person, and that's it. I'm not saying I never have or never would consider it, because there was Green Acres Mowers. I think Green Acres Mowing Australia. I think they're in Melbourne. Lovely, lovely company to deal with. I think a family run. They reached out to me and said, "Mate, we can just if you want to, give us a plug, we can give you some consumables." And we had this lovely dialogue, and they sent me, whippersnipper cord and edger blades and a couple other bits and pieces, the trimmer caps, the speed feed trimmer caps, and just a couple of little bits and bobs like that. And it helped with my mission. It was just simple. It's like, hey, thanks, guys. And they're like, and the arrangement was, we kind of just like your work and want to help, support your mission a bit, and this is how we can do it. And like, no strings attached, just give us a plug, and yeah, and so that's exactly what I did because our values aligned, and they didn't have great expectation of me. There's no money involved. They just sort of, sent me a little box of stuff, and yeah, when I used it, I think about maybe half a dozen videos. I plugged them. Um, yeah, and that's kind of the extent of it. I think in my first year, some Chinese brand sent me some work boots, which for my offside at the time needed new work boots. So I was like, yeah, right, give me those boots. Yeah, mate. Now you got a pair of boots to wear to work. So that was
Were
the
they
reason
were
I
they
did
good
that.
boots?
No, no, they can't be enough, but they sort of fell apart pretty quick. Yeah, they
Yeah.
look a bit like Air Jordans with the steel cap. Yeah, I can't really
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
comment for the quality. But there was a free pair of boots from offsider. Um, yeah, there's if I think something's cool and is going to contribute to my work and my mission, I would happily entertain it. But it'd have to, it'd have to really tick a few boxes for me to want to do that. Yeah, so that's why I don't have any brand stuff. And again, leaning back on that brand integrity thing, I get, and I'm sure most people with a little bit of a social media following do as well, just a constant inundation of emails from various brands. Hey, test out our, what's your price to plug our robot mower? The little ones that you wire up around your yard. And I get heaps of those.
Yep.
Some no-name brand I've never heard of. And I'm like, well, mate, that's not going to go through 3-foot cockoo, so you're kind of no good to me there, champion. So I just, yeah.
Although that would be a great video. What modifications do you have to make with this robot mower so that it would one day potentially
Yeah.
it'll
I wouldn't mind giving that May Raider a bloody try that Tim got his hands on. The remote control one, that thing actually looks pretty cool. That looks like it'd be um they'd come in handy on a hot day. It's just remote control
bro,
now.
hit him up. And they're sending him a second one. He's got
Yeah,
two, that selfish bastard. Get him to send you one.
no, I may or may not have already had a chat with him about it. So
Okay, right. They got a
yeah.
forward drive, and I look at that and for me, I feel like it would really frustrate me because I'm not good on I'm not good with that kind of stuff. I just be like, nah, screw it. I'm walking behind it. You know what I mean? Like the controls and everything. But that's if you're into that sort of stuff,
And look,
sit on
it
your
would
board.
present challenges, I think, because attention to detail. Like, how can you're sitting back on your porch, on your balcony or something, mowing the other side of your back corner there, you don't see the spot that you miss from all the way over here. So you got to follow it around. The difference is you just don't have your hands on it. So I don't know. Anyway, it'd be cool. It gets under stuff. Anyway, but yeah, so just to close the loop on that, mate, brands, um, I haven't wanted to use my channel to just plug no name crap, just for the sake of making a
Yep.
quick buck. It tarnishes the integrity of the work I'm trying to do, and that's why you don't see brands on my channel.
And all right, so we've got a sponsorship now with a cheap Chinese pair of boots.
Well, I tried to make a joke of it when I did it.
Do you know, like we had this not the same thing, but I know the shoes you're talking about because one of my employees got a pair of, they're like fancy looking sneakers with the steel caps in the front, right? Is that what you're talking about with these
Yeah,
boots?
yeah, like I said, they look a bit like Air Jordans with a steel cap.
So
And
it's either the same thing or very, very similar, pretty cheap from China. He got them and he was like, these are really comfy. And he was raving about them for a little bit. And he happened to get them around the time that we got these professional photos done, right? And they looked great. And there is a photo on our website of him mowing a beautiful lawn with a mowmaster. And it's a very low set photo. So the camera's only like 30 centimeters off the ground. And it's sort of panning out these at the lawn, right? But his feet are right there, right? And the thing about it is, the brand new boots look really cool. You could almost use it on a shoe ad, right? 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, the bottom's fallen off the front. It's opening. You know how like the shoe opens to talk
yeah,
sometimes. So yeah, like it
I've got
looks
a funny
like.
story about that if you want to hear.
Yeah, go for it.
Got a funny story. So obviously, my army background. I know there's a lot of diggers, ex diggers, in the industry, and I'm sure many of them can relate, especially those that were in sort of 10, 15 years ago. Our dress shoes, our parade shoes, they're high shines. They come with this. We didn't have to polish them; they just come all shiny and plastic looking. The soles used to fall off them at the most unfortunate times. And so there's a big embarrassing moment. I think it was after like an Anzac Day parade or something we did in Darwin, and it's always stinking hot up there. And it led to them eventually bringing in the R.M. Williams boots. Great shoe. And so that's what they wear now. But back then, all the soles fell off, and it was just a bit of an embarrassment. This whole parade of hundreds of troops had marched through the street,
Oh
and there's
wow!
just all these soles left on the road. It just looked ridiculous, and if it didn't come off, it was like you described, sort of flapping like a bloody muppet underneath your heel, and you end up in those little weird looking ninja shoes once the sole was falling out of it. It's really shiny ninja boots, and it was a bit funny.
So being on the hot road, was it like the heat from the road was melting the glue or
Yeah,
something?
that's pretty much exactly what happened.
So then the
Yeah,
people who lost the bottom of their shoe, are they now like basically scalding the bottom of their foot? Or
no,
like was the
because
sock
it's
enough
still
protection?
so it's still like it's like a fake leather,
Right.
big sock type
Right.
thing, So you still walk
Yes.
around in them,
Yes.
little funny little ninja boots,
I
Yeah, so,
see I see what you mean. The
yeah,
bottom is like a bottom sort of thin, sort of cushiony layer that's
yeah,
not attached. So there was still some protection to the floor,
yeah, that's right.
but not ballet shoes or something.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's something like that, like reef walkers or something. Anyway, it was a big incident. It was a big. I don't want to say scandal, but it definitely led to some pretty rapid change when they implemented the new
Yeah.
R and Williams because they don't fall apart, high quality and all that. So
Have you seen have you seen the Hugh Jackman RM Williams ad?
no,
Oh, that's one of my favorite ads of all time. I'm going to do a bad job of describing it, but people go and watch this. In fact, pause the podcast and watch it before I butcher the story for you. Hopefully, they're back now to hear my butchering of the story. There's this thing where Hugh Jackman in his prime, this is quite a few years ago when he was Wolverine and that sexy beast of a body that he had, and
mate, he's still got it.
he still got it, but like he's getting on a little bit. There was a time where he was, he was just an absolute piece of art that rig was, and he doing this ad, and it's him in the office, butt naked, with the CEO of RM Williams, because he's misinterpreted his contract, his sponsorship contract that says he's only allowed to wear RM Williams, right? So obviously they were saying that he is, only as his only pair of shoes, but he's interpreted it as that he's not allowed to wear anything else. And they're trying to explain to him, mate, like you can wear something else. He's like, don't worry, I love the brand. I totally am for what you're doing. Don't mention it, it's all good. And they're just all embarrassed, really awkward, don't know where to look because he's just sitting there, legs splayed apart. They don't show you anything. But I was like, that's such a good ad. They've done such a good job with that. So, anyways, didn't make me buy a pair though, but I mean, free advertising on the podcast.
Well, mate, now Hugh Jackman's that moment, he's living rent free in your head, so.
Exactly. I love Hugh Jackman. But also, I need to send RM Williams a bill and I'll get my $65 up to 72, I reckon. What do you think?
I think you're a shoo-in, mate. Pun intended.
Oh, that was good. RM Williams would be a good sponsor, I reckon. For you, that is.
Do they do a work for it?
I don't know. I'm Googling that now.
A funny story, just on the topic of Australian brands, the YouTuber. I heard recently that they've actually had to start getting. I could be completely wrong and out of line saying this, so don't quote me. Or quote me, I don't really care. They had to get,
don't worry, it's not like this is being recorded.
Well, mate, this is going to be the one that makes it for you on your channel. And that $65 is going to become $72 rapidly. You wait and see. Anyway, so what happened? Apparently they're outsourcing, like they're importing from Indonesia or something, the rabbit pelts to make the hats. And I don't know, growing up in Australia, you hear the stories how we just have an outrageous rabbit problem. Is that not the case anymore? What's happening? We run out of rabbits. We finally won the war. We lost the Emu War. If we won the
Great Emu War of the 1800s or whatever it was.
Rabbit-proof fence did its job, what are you, Cobra? Anyway, sorry, sidetracked. Just wanted to share that bit of info. If anyone knows it's true or not or false, leave it on under Luke's video.
I've people know that my family's my wife's side of the family's in Esperance, and whenever I go there, there's a lot of rabbits. And if I ever go on a walk, my dog, which is a Kelpie, very fast, active dog, she goes chasing him, but she gives up. She's not brutal enough. She's become too soft.
Yeah, right.
I think if we don't feed her for a week, I reckon she'll get one. You know what I mean? But then also RSPCA, that was a joke. All right, I've got an inadvertent game for you, Sean, because I've gone on the RM Williams and they've got a gardener boot. I'm going to read the description of the gardener boot to you, and then I want you to guess the price. And if you get within, say, $10, if you get within $10, I will send you my $65.77 from YouTube. Right? So there's something I shouldn't have said that way. I because this would be a good clip. Okay, redo the clip. Sean, if you get this within $10, I will give you my entire lifetime YouTube earnings. Okay. Here's the description. Are you ready? Robust and hard-wearing, the gardener boot is crafted from a single piece of oiled kip leather and finished with a sturdy rubber-treaded sole. The modern shape also has a rounded toe, elastic sides, and double-branded tugs. Sean, the gardener boot from RM Williams, what do you think it costs?
$450.
$649.
And that better be a nice shoe. It better be a nice shoe. Nice. I'd want to never want to take that bloody shoe off to cost that much. That's for sure.
I may as well put it on the screen. Actually, no, I'm not even. I've given them too much free advertisement. And to be honest, we've had enough technical difficulties that if we try something else, we're in trouble. But yeah, I mean, but it's one of those. Actually, having said that, I mean that doesn't even have a. It doesn't have a steel cap either, so you are asking for trouble legally. I think if you had an employee.
I'll tell you what, mate. sometimes people learn the hard way with regards to safety. Unfortunately, um, there's a bit of a back on lawn care. There's a bit of a
Yeah,
trend, a bit of culture, guard off versus guard on with a whippersnipper.
yep.
Anyone who's driven a whippersnipper with the guard off knows that it is infinitely better and just to use. But the reality of the situation is you are one rock to an eye of a passerby from bankruptcy because your insurance won't cover that. And they're going to sue you into oblivion and you're going to be paying their medical bills for the rest of their life and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, just safety first is really the way to go, isn't it? So I tell you right now, if I'm paying $600+ for a shoe, a gardening shoe, I want those bloody steel caps to be in it.
Yeah, I can't find anything on their website. I'm only having a quick look. So, that might be my looking abilities. But if you want a signature craftsman's boot, second chance at this, Sean, for the $65.
Signature craftsman. If it's signature,
Signature
that means it's more
craftsman
expensive.
boot. It is more expensive. What do you
Look,
think? I'll be honest with you. It looks exactly the same from the side profile to me. Slightly different color, but what do you think the cost is?
$700, $699.
1,051.
I'm so out
I've
of
kept
touch
my
with everything, man. Is that sure? Wow, that's audacious.
mate.
And the audacity
It's
to charge that much
audacious.
for a bloody shoe.
Although I was going to say I could justify $650 if it lasted 3 times the time. 3 times the time? 3 times as long as
Maybe
a
what, first
200.
time, three times the time. That was
Yeah,
the correct England.
if it lasts 3 times as much as a $200 boot, I can see how you could justify it. But I can't see any with a steel cap or a composite cap, because composite cap is fine for what we do.
Well, let's face it. Even if it did last 3 times the time, there's nothing quite like new boot feeling.
Yeah,
Love getting a new pair of boots.
I've never owned an RM Williams. And I had a chance for a free pair once, believe it or not.
Yeah, right.
Because
What happened there?
I used to be, back in the day, I used to be a competitive swimmer. And as a competitive swimmer, this is back when I was a teenager, I missed out on making an Australian team where I would have gotten a uniform, which included RM Williams boots. And that was my only motivation to
Right.
make the team, actually. I just wanted the pair of boots. But that was back in 2011 or 2012. And with inflation, I reckon RM Williams boots would have only cost $50. Inflation's been insane since then. So,
Wow.
yeah.
On the subject of boots, I actually have a funny story. It's a little bit, NSFW sort of. Anyway, that's sort of the tone of it.
Yep.
So I got a message one day from some random bloke. I think he might have been in the States or something, offering me
Right.
money for my used work boots.
Really?
Yeah, he was gonna. He
This
said,
is an income stream I haven't considered yet.
I was,
Tell me more.
I said, mate, why? And look, he was transparent. He goes, look, I'll be honest with you, it's a fetish thing. And I was like, look, mate, thanks, because he offered. He goes, look, I'll pay twice what you pay for them. And I was just like, look, thanks for the offer, mate. Just gonna just pass on that one.
You've missed your chance. You should have
Oh,
told them they were signature craftsmen.
I
RM
should have.
Williams
Oh, mate,
could have got $2,000.
there's an R.M. Williams signature craftsman, mate, and that's in US dollars. Yeah, no, anyway, I thought I'd share that one with you. That's definitely one
Oh,
of the more
dear.
interesting things that has happened as a result of, being on social media. Strangers asking for your
That
boots,
is
but
so strange. Oh,
yeah,
man.
it's
I'm n-
it's very strange.
I don't get. It's your soothing dulcet tones, mate. That's what he's just the beautiful velvety sound of your voice as just coming through the YouTube videos. That's what's turning me on.
I get that a lot, mate. believe it or not, I get a lot of comments about my voice, which I find funny because I hear my voice played back and it makes me wince. Like I struggle
Oh,
sometimes
everybody does. Everybody
watching.
does.
Oh man, and yeah, but no, people often say that, Luke. Something about my voice. I don't know what it is. The Americans, you know, about the accent and all that. They comment on the Australian accent. They like that sort of stuff. Yeah, puts
Mate,
people to
well,
sleep.
I mean, so somebody who used to, I've got a business plan for you. Okay, here's your business plan. Back to Aaron Williams. There's a lady named Ellie Cole. I don't know if you've ever known about Ellie Cole, but she is the most successful Australian Paralympian of all time. And Ellie Cole and I I was on two teams with her back in the day when I was like the person who just made the team, and she was like the gold standard athlete. And she's sponsored by Aaron Williams because she's now a TV broadcaster. And I could hit her up. I could be like, Ellie, I've got a mate named Sean, and he loves helping people. He's got a contact in America who's a foot fetish. And can you hook us up with a few RM Williams? Just
Oh
maybe
no.
2-3 pairs. All right. Signature craft, 2-3 pairs. That's $6,000 in Sean's pocket.
Oh,
And
dude.
thank you, Ellie. You've only got one leg, so you only need one shoe. Give us the other half of your shoes. And what do you reckon about that business idea?
Oh, mate, no comment. That's for sure.
It got
Who
really
knows?
weird, especially when I
Maybe,
started talking about her 1 foot. But
maybe it'll take off. Yeah. Sorry, what's her name again? Ellie.
Ellie Cole,
Yeah, the city you said of the name rang a bell. She's very yeah. So Australia's most successful Paralympian.
she was just on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, I think.
What did she compete in? Did you say?
She was a swimmer, but she was just on that show, either like
Yeah.
Celebrity Survivor or I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. I'm
Oh, good
Googling
on her.
this now.
Really?
I don't watch TV much, I'll be honest. Yep, she was on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and she just, I'm going to send her this. She's going to be like, you're a weirdo. I haven't seen you in 10 years. But whatever. Anyways, this is getting off the chain a little
Well,
bit.
one thing I love seeing it's Aussie's crushing it. So I'm glad to hear that she's crushed it as a Paralympian.
Yes, and the other thing about her, which is she is a genuine human being. She's not a wanker, and the fact that she's gone on to have success outside the pool as well, good on you, Ellie.
Yeah,
Go
well
hit,
done, Ellie.
go hit her up,
Make us
people.
all
As well.
proud.
Don't hit her up. Go follow her. Don't hit her up. Don't waste your time. We're just lawn mowing contractors, but go follow her because it's a very. I love people like that who are doing something good with their lives. All right, well, we're back. We had some technical issues. We've been having all the technical issues. But the good news is that I don't think there's any more technical issues we could have. So
mate.
we should be good.
I know a thing or two about technical issues. I've seen half a day's work more wiped out due to technical issues, and you can't do anything about it. It's just gone.
What from like a job you've been doing?
Just videos. Every now and then, you might have the camera running, but the GoPro's frozen for some reason, and it hasn't recorded maybe half an hour. That's happened before when I had someone else using the camera, which is a bit unfortunate. I usually check it a little bit more frequently, so that was a learning curve for myself and the other person. But yeah, no, and I think even just sometimes things happen on the job as well. Everyone has a bad day on the job. Buddy. One time I was getting a drink of water, so he's a funny example. Not quite to do with cameras, but I was having a drink of water and got this sort of on camera. It's on one of the videos, and this front yard tap hasn't seen the light of day in I don't know how long, let alone how long it had been used. And so anyway, I was just going to fill my drink bottle up, and as soon as I turn the tap, it comes flying off, and there's a big geyser of water just flooding this person's front yard. So I was thrilled about that. I was very lucky. I got a plumber in there, quick smart. Well, they were there in kind of 20 minutes. So yeah, it wasn't quite a burst water main. It was just a tap, but I didn't know how to deal with that. I was like, oh man, this sucks. So help me, please. But they came and they did.
wow.
And the client got a brand new tap fitted out the front. So everyone was happy.
So you lost a lot of money on that one. You needed a lot of views on YouTube to cover it.
Like I said earlier, it balances out. It balances out. It's all good. It's all part of the fun. It's all part of the process. There was another time, and this was a bit of a horror video actually. I got my mower bogged. First time, and hopefully the last time I'd ever been bogged was just in this person's front yard. Not sure
the
why.
Stand-on mower, right? The stand-on.
This was just a little Skag, little Liberty, little 0-turn.
Yep.
Yeah, man, I was spewing. It was proper bogged in this grass. I'd gone over it, I'd cut it, and I was doing the finishing passes, but I didn't realise how wet the ground was until the foot and a half of couch had been cut. Anyone who's cut over ground couch knows it's like a big fluffy mattress. And as soon as that was gone, there was nothing keeping the mower afloat. It just sunk. And so yeah, that was a bit of a disaster as well. But good news, I was able to follow that yard up, and maybe a couple of months later, and it looked great. So obviously the rut had filled in quite well. And, you kind of that's what you hope for, isn't it? So
the worst bog story that I ever had was I was doing this. I was on a hill, and I was on my old Hustler 36-inch, and by hill it's like it's more of a gradient than a hill or anything like that. Now I was at the front of this property on the outside version. They had all these bollards, right? And they had put in a new path, and so they dug out a lot of the ground, and Bobcat had sort of torn up all the ground. Super sandy, beach sand conditions, right? And I'd gone over a few times, right? And what happened is I was super close to the bollards, and my mower had drifted because of the sand, right? They'd all been exposed. Drifted very slowly, but I couldn't do anything about it. I tried to steer away, and I just kept drifting, sliding down into a bollard, right? But the bollard was in such a perfect position that I couldn't pull it out with my ute or anything. Luckily, like the road was not far away, because if I had pulled it, I was pulling the wheel into the bollard. So I had to turn the mower as in like 90 degrees to face the road. If you get what I mean, I hope I'm explaining this right. I had to turn the mower physically myself, which made it slide down more. And I ended up getting the back stuck between the two bollards, so I couldn't pull it in any which way. And then I literally luckily I had a nice big ratchet strap, and I just had to park my car in different locations and ratchet strap it 1 inch this way and then 1 inch that way, and move the car again and do it this way and that way, until eventually I got it to a spot where I could pull it with the cart to the bit that hadn't been torn up. I reckon it took me an hour and a half on my own to get that out of that spot. And it was I was mowing a bit that I could have done with a whippersnipper in 45 seconds. And I was just like, like it's one of those things where you kind of know, because I had been slipping down. Each time I'd done that pass, I slipped down a little bit, and I was like, oh, I'm far enough away from the bollards, I'll be fine. But nope, I wasn't. To be clear, when I hit the bollard, I tried to drive out, and it just sunk down to the chassis.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah.
I think
anyways,
part of having a 0-turn mower or larger equipment is it's not a matter of if, but when you will learn what it feels like to get it stuck somewhere, and the stress that can provide on the day. I keep some recovery tracks on the trailer now,
Yeah.
for just that occasion. And fortunately, haven't had to use them yet. Hopefully, I don't. Touch wood. But
Yep.
yeah, mate, that must have been very stressful, especially if it's in a position where you can't get it out. I'll totally get you, man. That's tough.
I knew at the time I didn't have like an independent employee. I had an offsider. They weren't with me that day. So I had no one to call. But I was like, if you had a second person, it would have been a 15-minute job because you just needed two people strong enough to kind of lift it up. And it was a 36-inch. It wasn't the heaviest mower the world's ever seen. You only need to lift up that front little bit and twist. But I couldn't do both, And anyway, I knew I would get it out. It was just so frustrating, and you just get more and more grumpy with your life, like stuck in that position. All right, we're back. I lied to you. I thought we had all the technical issues that we could possibly have. We had more. So there we go. I forgot what we were even talking about. That's a shame. I was
talking about being
fun.
bogged and just technical issues in general.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And I was talking about my story.
That's for sure.
So what's the weirdest? We were talking before that about the weird request for the boot, right? What's the weirdest response you've had to a free cleanup? Because like it reminds me of like Tim the lawnmower man. We've had some stories with him, but even Dennis Scott from Selling Houses Australia, where they do these big makeovers, but the people don't know what they're doing, and sometimes people come back and they've done all this work and they don't even like it. Have you ever had anybody? Have you had anybody be like they don't like what you did, or they're a bit like, you know what I mean? Like there wasn't the response that you were expecting.
Once, but it wasn't really that. It was It was like on the mid job. They had this tree grow like it was a weed tree. It was growing in this really precarious spot, like on their like sort of in the middle of their like concrete patio. Like in the way of their stairs. And I said, look, I'm gonna go through here. I'm just gonna, chop down all these weed trees and all that. They're like, yeah, excellent. Pumped as for me to be there. Their family reached out to me, asked me to come. And they're like, yeah, sweet. Have free reign. Do what you need to do to get cleaned up. Anyway, well, it wasn't a huge thing. It's the only one that springs to mind when you ask that question. And she goes, oh, you're not cutting that down, are you? Comes racing out of the house. And I was like, had planned on it, but I'm more than happy to leave it, if it's important to you. Yeah, that was pretty much it. So, people are usually pretty thrilled when someone comes and does the work for them. So yeah, that's what it's all about. I love doing it. And, yeah, I've never had a negative response really. Anyway, if there has been negativity, they haven't told me. So
I saw this video the other week, which anyways, I'll tell you the story, right? And then I want to get your reaction. It was on the news. It was on the radio, actually. It was a radio show. And it was these two ladies. One of them was a gardener. One of them was a radio presenter. And they were talking about vandalism caught on camera to a street tree, about how these blokes had ripped down a street tree, just being stupid and running into it and just destroyed this street tree. And they were really talking about how terrible it was. They're really getting into it. Like, I hadn't seen the footage. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, like, what the heck did these guys do? Did they drive a car in? What did they do? Then they cut to the footage. The tree is like 2 meters tall. It's not very well established. And it was just some idiots, probably drunk, hip and shouldering the tree, and they broke the tree in half.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, that's like a $60 tree. You know what I mean? Like, when you go down the wholesale, you can just go get a new one planted in, like straight, like, and they made a huge deal about it. And I was like, it's some idiots being drunk, doing stupid things. But I thought that they had like I don't know, ripped out a 100-year-old treasure or something like that from the response. Oh, like, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah, the
I
way
don't know.
people carry on, they a bit of overreaction, it seems, at times, you know?
It was in my books, but I don't know. Like, do you feel like the media kind of sometimes sensationalizes it to get a story? I don't
Oh,
know.
mate, I think you'd be naive to suggest otherwise. I think everybody knows that. Yeah, and YouTube's the same. Things get sensationalised. Yeah, so seen it happen. We sort of touched on it before with with regards to some of the way people frame their content to get views and all that. And again, that's their prerogative. If they want to do that, that's fill your boots, mate. But it's definitely a thing. It's definitely a thing that happens in the media and social media as well. Yeah, simply yes.
It's a bit too much. I do get, like, for me, I think there's that the cry wolf. What's the nursery story? The boy who cried wolf.
Mm.
And like when you over sensationalize all the stuff, like you get what's the word, like inoculated to it, that
Yeah, a bit numb
whenever
to it.
anyone,
You don't care.
yeah, exactly, and
Desensitized.
that's the word I'm looking for. And then somebody goes and they tell you something that's truly amazing, and you go, it's probably fake. You know, when someone's like, I saw this video of something happening, they fake this stuff all the time, you know? But yeah.
But I've had, and every now and then I'd get a suggestion, like, especially in the early days when there wasn't many people doing that. It's like, how do we know what you're not full of crap? You know, how do we know you're not just making up all these stories? And it's like, well, mate, especially now, I've made nearly 200 videos, yet to have one person come forward and say, this has all been fabricated. You know, he's saying things that aren't true. Yeah, and that's it's as simple as that. You know, you got to be able to back yourself. And the one of my favourite phrases is, "The honest man has nothing to fear." Um,
Mm.
so yeah, just keep it simple. Stick to the facts. Nowadays, when I put something in my video, I'm just like, yeah, we're just here to clean up this yard. This person's had a couple of issues, health issues, and that's kind of about, that's as far as I'll go. And
Yeah.
honestly, a lot of the time, the only reason these days, especially, that I'll even mention the circumstances of the client is often due to the people that respond in the comments. They're pretty brutal, man. They're pretty
Uh,
nasty, and they take aim at the clients because some of the yards are in pretty bad
mm.
shape,
Yeah.
and their families get in there and they read the comments and all that sort of stuff, and it must really hurt having all these strangers just passing all that judgment. And I do try and have that conversation and say, look, people in the comments can be pricks, and just let them know. And look, usually they're like, it's fine, just whatever, you know. But that's really the only reason well, not even these days, ever, I've tried to give a bit of a backstory about the client, is to kind of mitigate the hate coming their way. Doesn't always work. I used to get quite fiery as well. I used to clap back at some of the people saying horrible things. It's like, mate, you don't know anything about this person. What are you doing saying these, having to go at them? I've kind of, like you said just before, desensitized. I'm just like, it's going to happen now. Again, I was also mentioned earlier, a bit of personal growth. Like, I can't control what anyone's going to say, think, feel, whatever about my content. All I can do is just do the work. People are getting better, especially the last couple of years. There's been a lot of this content out there, but in the beginning, people were pretty brutal, yeah. And I used to struggle seeing that negative feedback getting thrown at these clients that they knew nothing about. I took it
Yeah.
personally on their behalf, so I just couldn't help it. I used to really get fiery in the comments, It was pretty poor form. Like, a YouTuber's not supposed to get in there and pick a fight with the people commenting on his bloody videos, but there was a time I just couldn't help it.
Yeah.
It used to make me real cross, So, yeah.
Yeah. People are weird. And I'm starting to think, like, when when Elon Musk took over Twitter,
Yeah.
a year ago or something like that, one of the things that came out in that was that a lot of the interaction were actually bots on Twitter in the sale. And there was it was like 20%, or I don't know what the actual number is. I should probably Google it. I'm going to do this now. Twitter bot percentage. See what comes up. But is there anything? Nothing quick's coming up to mind. But it was a big chunk of the actual users on Twitter were bots, right? And I wonder how much of this stuff is fabricated comments to avoid the algorithms picking up that they're bots, interacting in certain ways or whatever. Because I say that because some of these comments I see, I just go, I don't know if a human being would say that in a serious way. You know what I mean? Like, if you thought it, wouldn't you just keep it to yourself? But even like, I've never met anybody. I don't know if you have, and I've met a lot of people who are weirdos, right? Some would say I'm one of them. I'm a weirdo. But I've met a lot of people, and I'd go, I don't know anybody who would say some of the things I see online being written. So I wonder if, I don't know, are they bots?
It's also
a
cultural thing, mate. So obviously social media, interacting with people from all around the world. Us Aussies might have differing standards, values, etc., than those in other countries, even countries that are Western countries that we historically share values with. The States is a big one because that's such a diverse country. I think some of those the comments that I've encountered, for better and worse, I've had some of the most incredibly kind, generous, and the majority of them are. I love my US audience, but I've also found that a couple of the more horrific comments I've got of generally not Australians. I'm not going to speculate as to exactly which country, but people just don't have any sort of clue as to how we do our work here. So I think different cultures have a lot to do with it, perhaps.
I actually went to a live talk with Wasm Akram. Are you a cricket follower at all?
Not really.
Look of that, no. But the sounds of that, the answer is no. Wasm Akram was a Pakistani.
Right.
And anyway, Australia played Pakistan, and he was in Perth because he was commentating. There was a live event. I went to this live event with him. And one of the things that he said is that the Pakistanis have a very, very negative culture towards their cricketers. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And yeah, I saw after that going online that Pakistan, whenever anyone did something that wasn't quite up to standard, they got shredded in these Facebook posts on the Australian cricket team's Facebook posts. And what this guy was saying was an African. We were saying like it actually really breaks the players to see those kinds of comments, and that they were really overreacting. And he is a Test cricket legend from that country, one of the greatest bowlers of all time from any country. And I was like, I guess now you're saying that, like, it might be a cultural thing that, I don't know, for whatever reason that's there. Obviously, it's not every Pakistani, but there's some grouping of that. I'd never really noticed that before.
Mate, Aussies are bad for it too. Tall poppy syndrome's a real thing.
Tall poppy syndrome for sure.
Yeah, big time, mate. I'm a big believer if someone's doing something, if you don't like it, you say nothing. Whatever happened to, just what was that old phrase used to say? Bloody, I can't remember how it goes. It's like if you don't like something, say
I think
nothing.
You said it. Yeah, if you don't have any nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Yeah, that's it. We grew up with that. When did that stop becoming relevant? And on the flip side, if you see something that you don't really like, but that someone's made a big effort, good on you, mate. Well done. Good try.
Yeah,
it's so easy to do, and you can totally elevate someone with something that simple. Just by not saying a bad thing. It takes effort to say a bad thing. It's so easy just to say something nice, and to mean it, because it's such a nice feeling being happy for someone, and you know that you've made them happy just by giving them a little pat on the back. It's it's such a simple concept, man. It blows my mind how that's not a thing that's just universally accepted. You think it should be, but it's not, and that's one of the things in life that I find disappointing. But it is what it is.
Talking about Americans and American culture, have you ever considered doing a collab with one of the American guys that you talked about at the beginning? Was it Copper Creek?
I'd do a collab with I'd love to do a collab with one of the Americans. You know, they got some cool stuff over there. You know, I've discussed it with them on occasion. You know, I'm in a group chat with quite a few of them. There's Phil's Lawn Care, Kevin Juggernaut, SB Mowing. Can't remember. There's another one.
Because that would be
We're
it.
in a group.
That'd be a sick trip, hey. Like if you
Yeah,
could, this is where you need a sponsor, or this is where you need, you know, the Patreons to kick in, and it would be sick to be able to go over there, even if it was like not a profitable event, just to have it covered, costs covered, fly over there, spend a week doing some overgrown yards in Florida or something. That would be
mate.
like an awesome trip.
It'd just be life experience. You know, that'd be cool. I'm definitely receptive to something like that. But you know, life gets in the way, and you just keep plodding along doing your own thing. Yeah, but
What
you
grass
never
is?
know what the future holds.
No, well, what grass is over there? Because that would be another thing as well. Like you'd be so used to your overgrown kikuyu, a little
Oh,
bit of
mate,
cooch, maybe some buff.
I'm jealous of the Americans. I got to say, with the grass varieties I have, it just looks like it cuts so nicely and mulches up so nicely. Like you can't mulch long Australian grass; it's just dry and straw. It's gross.
What? You didn't say that. You said
No,
you weren't going to talk mulching versus catching
no,
before.
well, you know what I mean, like a long, like a
I do.
sort of
The
foot long
stolons
kikuyu
that are
lawn.
all. It's
Like
almost. They're almost sticks. They're not even grass
yeah,
anymore at the bottom
it's
there.
just it leaves a layer of straw on the thing and it doesn't break down. Whereas the Americans have got it's always just seems like it just cuts well with one pass. Doesn't matter how long it is. I'm like, man, that's that's a life. Eh? It's just
Uh,
different grass, different cultures as well. One thing I learned very quickly in my YouTube career, and again, I learnt through the crucible of online bullying. Dare I use the B word there to describe some of my experiences? Was I don't know, constructive criticism that they like to call it is that
yeah, right.
again the cultural thing. Aussies cut the grass a little bit shorter than Americans.
Mm.
I had one guy even going off at me last week about it. He said he
Oh,
cuts four.
gee.
You need to cut it no lower than 4 inches. I'm like, mate, if
10
I cut a
centimeters.
lawn to
What?
4 inches long, I once cut a lawn to 2.5 inches long, and a client sent me photos of him. He was cross. Sent me photos of himself remowing the lawn because it wasn't cut short enough. You know what I mean? And the lawn looked great. Like it wasn't. I always cut it that height, but for some reason, this particular day, he just wasn't happy. And imagine cutting 4 inches. Like,
Bloody Americans.
so yeah, just cultural differences, man. You know, and yeah,
Well, the tallest that we cut is under some trees, right, in a shaded area, and I think it's 6 centimeters. You know, so that would be roughly what you're
about two
talking,
inches.
2.5 inches or something like
Yeah,
that. And that's because it's quite heavily shaded and growing it a little bit higher. But residentially, especially still in the mowing, we're not really going over 3 centimeters much at all. And we would have some clients that we would be down at 12 mil, so half an inch. You know, maybe post reno, we might even do the first cut at 8 mil or something like that. You know,
yeah.
just because you can. But that's it's a bit silly trying to maintain a residential lawn at that on a fortnightly basis or something. But yeah, it's definitely the cultural side of it. But it'd be cool, like, to go over there, see the equipment they use, see the trailer setups. Just do something different. Even if you go there and go, oh, I don't even like the way that they do that or whatever. It's not about liking it or not liking it. It's just about seeing it and being there.
Well,
And
we've become very heavily influenced by them. Like all of the cool stuff we use, zero turns and standards in particular.
yeah,
American innovations. The standards only hasn't been in Australia for that long.
no,
That's a game changer for a lot of people's business. I have one. I got the right 32. Beast of a machine. Get through all the little gates. Yeah, because we have a couple of larger properties and commercial sites, but generally my business is just residential. So obviously we've spoken a lot about YouTube tonight, but I still do have a lawn mowing company and with employees, and we do just a
You
regular
actually do
lawn and
work,
garden
yeah.
business. So getting squeezing into all those little gates and all that regularly, and some of those American toys, especially the standard mower, because they're so narrow but powerful. Man, it's just been a
Mm.
game changer. Like having a second employee,
Oh, for sure. Compared to for what you're doing, for sure. I feel like some of the blocks in Australia are a little bit too small because I do see some of the videos in America and they've got much better access down the side and they can fit a 48,
They
or a
don't have fences,
42.
man. They got no fences.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're so used to fences, it stressed me out not having a fence.
Yeah, they don't need fences when they've got guns, you know what I mean? Like we're a little bit different.
It was interesting too because I lived in the tropics up in Darwin for about 8 years when I was in the army, and
Oh, really?
yeah, and it's all like the chain mesh style fences.
Hmm.
There's
Hmm.
cyclones everywhere, so you don't have you get a couple of cyclones a year, so they don't have all the colour bond up there.
Yeah.
It's all chain link. So I remember the first time I moved into a yard and I could see right into my neighbour's property and they could see right into mine.
Yeah.
Never had that before because obviously I grew up in New South. Everyone has a privacy fence, colour bond or timber or whatever it is, and you get
Yeah.
used to that. So the Americans completely different. They have no fences for the most part. Not always.
Yeah, it depends on the
Um,
era, yeah.
yeah, it depends. I'm sure it's an even mix, but you watch a lot of those mowing videos, and like you said, they get their massive, big, wide mowers just straight into these yards, like no worries. And yeah, it was just
I
again, it was another thing that I kept getting bombarded with. You need to get a bigger mower. I'm like, mate, I'm not going to go
It
on
won't
this
fit.
specialist. It won't fit. Like in the early days when I was starting out, like I said, new to my business, new to YouTube, hadn't built myself up, hadn't built up my equipment yet. I was just rolling with these little tiny push mowers, tackling some ridiculous jobs, and it was just constant. Like, you need a bigger mower. I'm like, well, mate, blade.mate.lawns@gmail.com. That's my PayPal. Feel free to drop some money in there. I'll go buy one. Otherwise, just let me do my work, please and thank you.
Yes, exactly. You're not the sort of person who's going to go hit up Toro for anything either, are you? So,
No.
or
I've
any of
got
those
my own
brands.
fleet now. All my equipment I got myself. So, yeah, we're good to
Well,
go. Well said.
the biggest problem about those no privacy fences, just in my world, is if we're being honest, we've all been in that situation where you get out of the shower and you realise that all your clean undies are on the line. You got to do the quick nudie run to grab yourself a pair of undies. Can't do that if you don't have a privacy fence. You know what I mean?
Well, you can. You just got to back yourself, Luke. You just got to have a little bit of confidence. You just walk out there. It's your house. If anyone's looking, go, "Good morning, mate. How you doing?"
Yep.
Take a photo. It'll last longer.
Well, let's be honest. They could see. They would really need some really good eyes to notice anything on me, anyway. Oh, mate. Talking about good equipment, how jealous are you on a scale of 9 or 10 out of 10 with Tim and his bloody walk behind flower mower that seems to be like it's a mower on steroids? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, sorry. Does he have one?
You haven't seen it. Right.
Maybe.
Okay.
I'll be honest, mate.
Here we go. I'm getting
all right,
Tim's
go for
ear
it.
up. I'm putting something on there.
I know what a flower mower is.
Okay. So what he's got is he's got this honking big. I'm just going to have to share this on the screen. I can't believe you haven't seen it yet.
I probably have, mate.
Once I
I'll
show you,
flick through a lot of channels.
I mean, of course, you guys have connected and stuff before. I just got to do all the background stuff to get something on the screen here.
But if it's what you described, well, then the answer is 10 out of 10. Very jealous.
I will show you. You're going to want to go down there and steal it off him. Where is this mower that he's got? I've got to try and find it now. When did he get it? Because basically what it is, for those who haven't seen it, it's this big orange thing. And I'll try and describe it as I'm trying to find his video. videos. Here we go. So it's this big orange walk behind machine.
Yeah, I have seen this one. Sorry, I know exactly what you're talking about. And to answer your question, it is 10 out of 10 jealousy. That's a brilliant machine. Look at that thing. And that is
Look
just
at how
eating
big
through
it
that
is.
like it's nothing.
So, I mean, there's a weed there that's as tall as Tim. And so, I mean, that's, for those who don't know Tim's height, that's probably 45 centimeters tall.
Yeah. 46, give him some
Actually,
credit.
yeah, no, the internet says he's 7 foot tall. But no, it's it looks like that's Kaikuyu, and in all seriousness, I think it's some of that's 1 meter tall of actual
that's so
Kaikuyu,
cool.
and then
Look at that.
you get the spindly kind of what's the growth there? You know what I mean. The thin weeds that are really tall, but the lowest part of that Kaikuyu is half a meter, and it is single passing it. He's doing a double pass, but you can see it is single pass cutting that. And I can't remember how much he told me the regular retail price, but it was the same price roughly as a stand-on mower.
Yeah,
and I was like, it's a very what's the word? Look, he's clean. Look at him go. It's a very what's the word I'm looking for? A niche machine. Like, there's not a whole lot of uses for it. Whereas your stand-on mower, you know, because it can mow big properties that are well maintained, and it can do it's more versatile. That's what I'm looking for.
Well, I think from what I know about Tim, I think outside of his social media stuff, he does a few like block slashes, just like what he's using that on.
Yeah. But it's a pretty good
No,
machine. You can't pick up
I'll definitely have used one of them. I had to tell you right now. In fact,
all right.
I was chatting to local dealer, Valley Outdoors. They they have it's this gigantic like sort of robot drone thing. It's huge. Probably
is it the
Raymo?
Is it the Raymo
I think so.
remote? Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
I think SME. I'll try and look it up on here.
Yeah, they got one of them, and they mentioned that we might be able to link up and do a trial for that. So that'd be pretty cool if I could borrow that for a video. Just for the memes, man. It would just be fun, you know.
Is that it on there? It's a bit small. I'll try and zoom in.
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it, or something very similar. If that's not it,
mate, we're gonna have to charge all these brands for R.M. Williams, Raymo, whatever that flower mower. I mean, I'm definitely getting $72 in sponsorship by the end of this podcast.
Right, it's neither here nor there. You wait and see.
But I mean, that'd be cool. That's a bigger thing than that Mow Raider that we were talking about before. That Tim had.
No, this thing's a real deal. Look at that, man.
I've seen one in the flesh at my local mower shop. But I won't ask them how much it costs, because that looks like it's a little bit on the expensive side. I could probably find it here. I'm on the website. Explore. What does explore mean? Does explore mean give me the price? Torpedo model.
It usually means it's expensive.
Yeah, if you've got to ask, holy moly!
Oh wow!
$54,340, but that's including GST, so it's only $50.
And here's the thing about that sort of gear: if you can afford one of them and you have the business, like the work for it, then that $54,000 is chump change compared to what it's going to earn you, because you don't buy one of them unless you know it's going to make some dollary doos.
I'm trying to see if there's other models, but it's the model that's on the screen. I'll zoom in for the people on. I should explain this because people are listening. What it is, people, it's a remote control mower, but it is a lot bigger. It should say how big it is on here. 42 flex deck. So I'm thinking it's a 42-inch cut. But it's kind of like, You know how, for those who are listening, a walker has an out front deck? It's got an out front deck. So it's like kind of, the remote control wheelie bit at the back has got 4 wheels and the mower's at the front. So
It looks
the
kind of like a
mowing deck's
spider
at the front. It does kind of look like a spider. It needs
wheels.
another 4 wheels, but
They just need to put like some sort of novelty legs on it to make it look horrific and spider-like.
that would be great for Halloween, for promotion. You know what I mean? That's how they see now. You need money from the marketing team of this business because you've just solved one of their marketing problems for the year. And look,
Mate,
let's be honest, they've got the money. They're charging $54,000 for remote control.
Realistically, I think most people listening probably in the same boat to everyone else, myself included, which is there's no brand deals, there's no $54,000 machines. You just start from the bottom and work it and just progress, develop. My first when I first started, was a second-hand trailer. It was a little crappy little rusty box trailer that came with 2 whip snippers, which I still have. Just the Steel FS85R. Yeah, I think so. I haven't used them for some time. And come with a Massport Pro 6000, the green one, President 6000. I flogged that thing to death, and it come with a little Victor, which died pretty quickly, and I got rid of. And a little Victor blower, and a rake and all that stuff. I got the whole kit for $3,500, all this secondhand gear, and that was the start of my business. Yeah, and I guess the point I'm making, especially if any newcomers listening to this, just it's wherever you are in your journey, your business journey. That's kind of exactly where you need to be. If you're at the point where you've just bought your first brand new mower. Well, my first mower I bought about 12 months later. Not even, probably about 6 months later. It was a little Rover Pro Cut 950, I think. That featured heavily in the first year of my channel. Little beast of a thing until upgraded. But that's just, if you're continuing your business, you'll be able to sort of get the big gear, make better gear, make life easy for yourself, and it's all part of the process and part of the fun. And it's quite satisfying watching your own business progression and those around you. Like, there's a couple of guys that in the area and that I started working around the same time as they did, and all started in a similar fashion, and everyone's still going. And one thing I found about the lawn and garden industry, just sort of slightly off topic, I find it to be a bit of a gentleman's industry. People look after each other. There's no sort of there's people send each other leads. People freely give advice. If someone's equipment goes down, like, hey, can anyone lend me a mower for the day? Or, that sort of thing. That's another thing I really like about that business. And again, for any newcomers listening, reach out to your networks and all that stuff, because people want to help. You got to start somewhere. Everyone starts somewhere. Like I said, my journey kind of corresponded a little bit. Doing cleanup jobs, I first sort of put them on YouTube and learned the hard way through a lot of feedback. How to refine my processes.
But it was constructive, hopefully.
Some constructive. Look, I have a degree in adult and vocational education, so one could suggest that I'm actually an expert in what is and is not constructive feedback, because it was a big part of that job. So I might put an asterisk next to constructive feedback for some of the feedback I get, just from an expert's opinion. But points for trying.
I know what I'm going to title this podcast now. Adult educational expert Sean also happens to mow some lawns.
Look, I can't back that up. I've been out of the training stream for quite some time.
You've ruined the whole gag, man. Like, that's the whole idea. Is that's what the internet's about: showing off, pretending to be an expert, waving a piece of paper.
You were this close to getting your $72, and I've just ruined it for you.
You ruined it. I had an expert on the show, and now I don't have an expert anymore.
Mate, there's one thing that I'll never claim to be. It's an expert on anything. I'm just a guy that eats too many carbs, has too much energy, and that's about it.
Yeah, look, that's the whole thing. What does expert even mean? Because I've had people on this podcast who are experts, as would be defined by the industry or whatever,
I would suggest qualifications.
But I've met some people with qualifications, not naming names. No one I've had on the podcast, I would say, but I've met some people in the industry. I'm like, you don't really, there's paper knowledge, and then there's people who've been out there in the field, on the road, like. The first person that comes to mind when it comes to expert, someone who's been on the podcast, is Damien Hoff, who's the head groundskeeper at Adelaide Oval. And I'm going to give too much away here, but I was talking to him. He's in America teaching people how to make cricket pitches.
Mate, that's an expert.
He's been to Pakistan. He went to South Korea to teach people how to make cricket pitches, right? Like travels all over the world, right? And I'm talking to him, and he's kind of like, oh, well, there's some, I don't know everything about it. And I'm like, yeah, you do. Like, you dummy. Like, if you don't know everything, but the thing is, what I'm getting at is there is so much to learn about so many things in the industry that even the people who get flown around internationally to teach this stuff feel like they haven't even learnt everything yet. So that's what I kind of mean by maybe the idea of being an expert is that you always feel like there's so much more to learn that people still don't ever feel like they've really achieved it, even if they're there.
You're dead right there, mate. It's to acknowledge your own shortcomings is, I think, it's an essential character trait. You need to know that it's important that you know that you don't know everything. What is it? It's like awareness of your own ignorance. Anyone who thinks they know everything, it's generally doesn't know very much. So as far as being an expert, you might suggest that there's a few factors that could make someone an expert. I would argue one of them in particular is you would need to be qualified, some sort of quantifiable training, because you could be a master at something, but I guess I'm just being nitpicky. If we had a criteria, you probably need a qualification, a lot of relevant industry experience, and you need to be able to walk the walk. You need to be able to show this is the work that I've done, as you can see. And I think put those things together, and also, like you said, a willingness to continue to learn. Yeah, especially in my early days, I used to really struggle. Again, like I said, I struggled in the early days, mental health stuff, with the way people they were just pricks about the way they would say it. And after a lifetime preceding that, a lot of this subcontext is everything preceding me, bloody being in the industry. So for a lot of reasons, I struggled when people were just a prick to me for what I perceived for no reason. And feedback, just make it constructive. This is not feedback. Someone goes, that sucks, you did that wrong. That's not feedback at all. That's not constructive criticism in any way, shape, or form. That's just a whinge. There's a difference between a whinge and a constructive feedback.
Or even a judgment. They're just putting their nose in the air and finger waving at you.
So if I see something that I'm critical of, my approach would be, talk me through why you did it that way, mate. Interesting. Fair enough. Have you considered this? Well, what are the benefits that you think of doing it X, Y, Z? Because a lot of people do it A, B, C. What are your thoughts on that? That, to me, and you get better responses with that sort of constructive feedback. in my opinion and my experience. Yeah, as opposed to you did that wrong. Thanks, mate. Good chat.
So what you're saying is we should word it as instead of just saying you're a wanker, you should say, "Have you ever considered that you're a wanker?" Yeah, is that what
Yes,
you're trying to?
Mate, exactly those words. You took those words out of myself. Yeah, my man.
I think when you were saying expert, I'm going to have to disagree with you because I think an expert is just anybody with a Facebook account and an opinion. I think that's the standard these days. I know.
Sorry,
I know you were using facts and logic and reason and actually thinking it through, but it doesn't matter on the internet anymore. Yeah. See, that was constructive feedback.
Good example too. Well presented.
But that's the thing about that is that you kind of feel. I think Joe Rogan has said this, or somebody on that podcast somewhere that I listened to at one point, where they were talking about how back in the day, the only written, when we were young and had potential, back in those days, the only reading that you would do was if you were reading essentially a book, a newspaper, a magazine, somebody who was actually considered an expert or at least a journalist who had looked into it. You wouldn't read consistently and for a long period of time hate mail or anything like that. So I remember somebody saying that there's something about, or perhaps there's something about the written form that feels proper, that feels considered, that feels like it's coming from an expert, even though now it's just your Aunt Marg out in the back of someone's basement somewhere who has an internet connection. And you don't know, the guy who's commenting or the girl who's commenting negatively may be the last person you'd ever take advice from, but sometimes maybe it feels because of that written form like it is of the same weight of that article you were reading 30 seconds before from a journalist who'd really thought about what they were writing about.
Look, and mate, we've all been guilty of it. I used to be just as bad, if I saw, especially in the early days of social media, I saw something dumb, you'd say, well, that was dumb. And part of acknowledging your own growth process is acknowledging the shortcomings and how you've worked on them. So now when I see it in other people, I'm like, man, come on. And I'm like, was it really like that? Was it really, And because anybody can say anything they want at any time. And here's some really good advice that I got. And I don't really comment much, or almost ever, on social media anymore. I'm rarely going to read comments or anything. I read my, on my videos, the feedback. They'll take the time to give feedback. I like to read it, but just generally, scrolling through social media, you're just a random name. No one cares. No one clicks on your profile. No one cares what you have to say. So don't say anything negative because that's completely pointless and it just puts bad energy out into the atmosphere,
Yep, I agree. Makes you sometimes you feel like you have to comment to release the tension, but then it builds up the tension because then they reply again, and then you got another one to deal with,
and you get the notification like, "Who's this? How dare they disagree with me?"
Yeah, don't they know who I am?
Yeah, I'm some other random stranger on the internet. It's like just
who has more followers, and that means that I have that my opinion is more weighted and important. Don't you know how many leather-bound books I have?
3.
I don't have any.
At least. Maybe, I don't know. If there are any in the house, I'll tell you right now, they belong to my wife.
Yeah, exactly. But you'll stack them up next to you as you're commenting to make you feel a little bit more weighty.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm learned.
Yes, I have a suit I got from an op shop, and I'm going to wear it while I'm writing this comment.
Hey man, I went to school with this guy. He used to rock some serious clobber from bloody op shops, man. He used to rock up to school in like this sort of tweed jacket. Cost him like $5. He just looks smooth as. It was cool as.
Oh,
wish I could be that cool. pull something like that off.
That reminds me of a story. I went to a mate's house when I was in school. I would have been about 14, 15. It was on the weekend. And his mum had to work. And his mum left us some money. It was $50. Right? And
Told you a kid.
it
It's
was
basically $1 million.
it felt like $1 million. And it was for lunch, right? And he was walking distance from a Coles. And anyways, we started walking to Coles at lunchtime, and next or on the way to Coles was an op shop. And so on the way back, we had bought our lunch and we had some money left because, $50 at Coles back in the day was a lot of money. Yeah. And anyways, my friend was under the impression, I had no idea. I had not gotten any instructions. These money instructions were given before I even rocked up to the house. He was under the impression that he was allowed to spend all that $50, right? And we were walking past an op shop, and he was like, let's just go in the op shop and see what there is. And we bought 2 suits from the op shop.
Nice.
Okay. I have photos of this somewhere on my phone. And we went home and we were wearing the suits all day. And they were way too big, right? But I think they were $10 each or whatever it was. But we had spent the whole $50 on the op shop and everything. And his mum got home and didn't know what to do because she was sort of really angry at him, but I was still around. You know that feeling? Like, I can't tell him off as harsh as I really wanted to because she wasn't supposed to spend the $50. And he's just gone and spent it all on some useless suits from an op shop.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Hey, look, there's worse things that your kid could be spending $50 on, eh?
Exactly. Yeah, straight after that, we went to the local meth dealer and no.
Jesus.
Oh, mate. There's no sponsors on this podcast on this episode, I don't think. I've got to do more work to get this last $7 for that 72. Oh, mate.
Such a GoFundMe, mate. We'll get it done. We'll get you there.
Mate, well, we're coming up to 2 hours, believe it or not. It's been about 2 hours of recording time. Yeah, 6 hours of all these technical difficulties.
It has. Yep.
But, oh my goodness, it's after 10 o'clock at night where you are. I've forgotten the time difference. We've got to wrap this up, but I've got to tell you something, okay? Because me and my daughter, we have this thing where we call it a cheeky sneaky. She's like 3, right? And when we're having some technical difficulties, I did a cheeky sneaky on you. Because you said no one's ever sent you anything before, right? And I happened to be on the phone to Gary from Greenworks earlier this morning. And I sent him a text and I said, mate, have you heard of Sean? I'm not going to do the whole conversation. Sent him his YouTube, blah, blah. And I said, no one's ever sent him anything.
Well, like I said,
blah, blah.
Little things.
Yeah, we sent back and forth. There was a lot of time between waiting for these technical difficulties to resolve. For people who are listening, your phone ran out of battery because you thought you had it on charge, and whatever reason it wasn't charging properly. Gary's come back and he says, what does he need? We need to get him something. So you are getting something from Greenworks because I did a cheeky sneaky for you, and I know that you're too nice and polite to ever ask. But I'm a wanker, and so I'll ask anyway, and I'll put Gary in an awkward position where he feels like he can't say no. I know that's not how he feels, but they're coming to our events, they're our live events, which is why I was talking to him, and I was like, I know that if I ask Gary, he'll say yes, and he did. So I don't know what you're getting.
Thanks, mate.
But
Thanks,
yeah, there you go. It's Gary from Greenworks. So for all 3 of you who are still left listening to that, it's a good thing. I mean, once you get through the meth joke, the one-legged joke, the inappropriate comments about a shoe, all 3 of you still left. Thanks to Greenworks for supporting Sean.
Well,
anyways, mate,
thanks.
Your wife is probably like, what the hell is this thing going on this long for? But
yeah, I had to sneak off and say goodnight to the kids during all the technical issues. Perfect opportunity.
Oh, did you? Good.
No, it may not have been planned.
Oh, these were fake. You knew that You planted the seed. You knew I was going to message Gary, and you need to go send your kids to bed. That's all right, man. Well, anyway, thanks for coming on. And
No, mate,
everybody,
good chat.
I also reckon what we should do is we should promote your Patreon. What is the link to your Patreon?
Couldn't tell you.
Or what? You got to get better at this business side, Sean. I'll tell you what.
If
you don't ask for sponsors.
If anyone's interested in helping out, just Blade Mate Lawn Care YouTube. It's got all the links in that, and watch a few videos, see what our work's about, and I really appreciate it. Everything's super helpful, and
there you go.
Appreciate your plug, mate.
No worries. Well, people, you should jump on there because I know, as we pointed out, that even if you get thousands of views, you're not making that much cash money from this sort of stuff. And the thing about Patreon, we've got some Patreons, and the patrons pay for the editing, which gets done, which is great. And the thing about Patreon is it's consistent income, whereas your views and your sponsors, whatever, they go in, they come out, it's up and down. But that's a really good way. And if 100 people give $5 each, it's $500 a month, and that makes a difference. For I think you're in New South Wales, so $500, that's like a cup of coffee, right? That's a cup of coffee a month that you get.
I could almost fill my car up.
All right, mate. Well, anyways, time to go. Thank you so much for coming on.
No, mate. Thanks for having me.
Everybody else, we'll see you in the next podcast. All right, friends, before you go, firstly, well done for making it to the end of the podcast. Secondly, if you have made it to the end of the podcast, you obviously liked the podcast. If you do like the podcast, which you clearly do because you made it to the end, unless you fell asleep or somebody held you against your will, maybe you're the passenger and the driver put the podcast on and it was too awkward to tell them that you didn't like it and you think the host is an absolute wanker. And so you just sat there and suffered. But everybody else, other than those two scenarios, you probably do like it. If you do like it, can you share it? Can you comment? Can you give us ratings? All that sort of stuff. Support in some way because this is not a big production. And believe it or not, those little things actually make massive differences to the algorithm, helping people find the podcast. And ultimately, if you enjoyed it, maybe somebody else will. So I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for supporting and listening all the way. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Anyways, I'll see you in the next podcast.